or approximately 21.47% compared to the first quarter of the previous financial year 2021-2022. These collections also accounted for 21.54% of the annual target.
As the revenue body sets its eye on another target of over 6 trillion shillings in the second quarter that runs from October to December 2022, it has to contend with numerous challenges that can cause massive setback. These include reduced disposable income due to inflation, increased cases of Ebola virus that is already taking a toll on the economy, and the fear of a looming lockdown.
Let's first of all make it clear that a lockdown affects everybody, including businesses and tax collectors and all citizens. It's very restraining. It affects everybody not very positively. We have to do it for survival. And if there is one person praying alongside the businesses that there will be no lockdown, it is us, the tax collectors. Because once there is a lockdown, even the tax collection effort is hampered. So my comment on this and my appeal to all the citizens is that we observe the SOPs that have been put down by the Ministry of Health so that we avoid a potential lockdown.
With the current trend of costs, for example, fuel is going up, food prices are going up because the cod palm oil was imported. We all know that now. Because of those costs increasing, there is also an element of imported inflation into our cost structure of an MSME. So by the time you pay 4 or 5 employees coming into work for their salaries, I mean, an MSME will pay for one and feel the pinch in 1 week. Why? Because their margins of profitability are already slimming down. They already feel it.
While mobilizing Uganda's shillings 25.5 trillion in the current financial year is an uphill task, the revenue body is confident that the goal is attainable. Dennis Igoa for UBC Business. The number of collateral assets auctioned by commercial banks has doubled in 2022 compared to that recorded between January and June of 2019. With headline inflation at 10%, the private sector is appealing for multi-sectoral intervention to tackle the worrying situation.
As more businesses continue to experience constrained cash flows, commercial banks have gone forward to auction mortgaged assets in a bid to recover their money.
Financial institutions are not into the business of selling property. It is not the intention, but it's procedure, it's most times it's things need to get done.
According to the Daily Monitor, auctioneers between January and June 2022 advertised 2,076 properties for sale, nearly twice the 1,102 properties they advertised during the first half of 2019.
The banker makes money by lending out and people returning the money. When they become bad loans, even banks do not make money in the final analysis. COVID-19, among other reasons, caused a lockdown of over 2 years. We wrote it to the president amidst the circus or the COVID pandemic.
At the height of the pandemic effects on the economy, government asked commercial banks to help clients restructure their loans. But how effective has this strategy been?
There is still an option for restructuring because prudential guidelines allow the financial institutions to do 2 restructures. Beyond that, you can't do any restructure. Unless, of course, the regulator gives, like what they guided us during the COVID pandemic.
The banks need to lose out on some money. If the banks cannot lose out on the profits that they are going to declare when they are declaring their final accounts, when they're reading their balance sheets to show the positions, I am telling you the crisis is just beginning.
The central bank raised the CBR to 10% in order to limit borrowing. Some of the properties being auctioned include underdeveloped land, residential homes, commercial buildings in towns, among others. Wadulo Mark Arnold, UBC News, in Kampala.
The Kenyan President William Ruto has hinted on fully opening up Kenya's market for Uganda's milk and milk products. The news is welcomed by producers of milk and dairy products in this country.
Less than 2 weeks ago, recently elected and sworn in Kenyan President William Samoei Ruto made this pronouncement.
We should have made more steps and allow Uganda to come and occupy the next place as we move ahead. Are we together, good people?
This commitment coming after months and years of pull and push controversies surrounding access of Uganda's milk to the Kenyan market. With Kenya's quest to add value to her own milk for commercial purposes, Ugandan milk is being settled on for consumption.
We should be adding value, producing butter, using it to produce powder, and go and sell it in DRC, go and sell it in Central Africa, go and sell it in West Africa. And then we get the cheaper milk from Uganda and we drink.
This has been welcomed by some milk producers in Uganda.
Uganda is a low-cost producer, and therefore the market of Kenya, we are still so low in terms of supply. There is more Uganda can produce.
Odrek Rabogo, a Ugandan entrepreneur and himself a milk producer, says this calls for both quality and quantity production.
Very sweet. So that instead of large quantity, long life shelf milk, we also deal with powder, we deal with cheeses, we deal with yogurts, we deal with casein. These are products that can expand the capabilities of our farmers, satisfy the regional market.
As for addressing the challenge of non-tariff barriers in the East African region, both traders and politicians agree that it is time the protocol is implemented.
It's exciting when we have political leaders and technical officials in East Africa remove non-tariff trade barriers and speak about consumption within the region.
The moment harmonization and approximation of these laws has been done, there should be free movement of people, free movement of goods as provided for in these treaties.
According to records from Dairy Development Authority, Uganda's revenue from export of dairy products rose from 480 billion shillings in 2018 to 750 billion in 2020. And by December 2021, Uganda was producing 2.81 billion liters of milk annually. A reason why Kenya's move to have it imported makes it timely.
Uganda Revenue Authority's intention to introduce a 10% VAT or value-added tax on concentrates is lauded by the Uganda Animal Feeds Manufacturers Association. Concentrates, a major component in the making of animal feeds, especially for chicken and pigs, are mostly imported. However, the association believes the country has the capacity to satisfy demand. Uganda Animal Feeds Manufacturers Association has welcomed the decision by Uganda Revenue Authority on taxing imported concentrates used in the manufacturing of animal feeds.
These guys were importing in concentrates, were lying to government and people that there is no quality in Uganda, that there is no quantity in Uganda, you see. And their aim was to just let these concentrates come in paying no tax, killing an industry that has been there for more than 30 years. So we had to game up, pull up our socks and join the battle. Because when we saw that government has imposed that tax, we wrote to government saying, kudos man, that is what we've been looking for. Yes.
According to the interim chairman of the association, Aimebo Barismana, the move is timely and pro-development since it boosts local content in the sector as well as support government's import substitution agenda.
Dennis, I can assure you, Uganda has capacity, Uganda has quality. Let nobody lie to us that we do not have. Yes, maybe we have poor methodologies, maybe we have poor laboratory research, but these are things that we can work on, you get me? And this is exactly what the development program is all about. How can we come from what you can call not peasant but barbaric or old, archaic way of handling things to an industrial level? When you see multinationals coming all the way from Netherlands, Belgium, Brazil, Israel, China, India, running all the way here, government should stop saying, hey, why is everybody flooding here?
Although the new tax measures have not yet been enforced, the revenue body has clarified on their intention to introduce the 10% tax.
And there was a lot of engagement on how to resolve the issue of taxes on concentrates. According to the current law, the concentrates were supposed to pay import and VAT taxes because they are not explicitly stated in the schedule of exemption of VAT, and then in the East African Customs Management Act, they are also not explicitly exempted. However, when we sent out the assessment and the response that we got was that this will negatively impact the already struggling industry. And therefore, after a series of consultation with all the stakeholders in this sector and with the line ministries, on the side of URA, we've taken some administrative measures. One, not to enforce the collection of the taxes that we had assessed, but two, to recommend for improvements in the law so that those gray areas that are not covered can be sorted out going forward.
The Commissioner General's sentiments are re-echoed by Moses Kagwa, a senior official at the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development.
2 percentage points of GDP is estimated to be lost through exemptions. So we have had a tax exemption rationalization plan looking at all these exemptions. We are doing a cost-benefit analysis, and we'll be recommending those tax exemptions that we see are not of any value, but they are tax eroding. Some of them may be good to promote investments or for social sectors, but there are some others that we are going to be looking at that we think that we should be eliminating. So that is an exercise we are doing with URA.
Importers of premix and concentrates had in the recent weeks challenged the move by the tax body, arguing that any new tax will adversely affect their sector, leading to the collapse of many struggling enterprises.
We have to go into the story, what is taxation? So why does taxation come to be? Taxation comes to be for the purpose of protection of the local elements, local producers.
Local content, promotion of local content.
Exactly. Because is why, if we have here, why should we get it in the country? You get me? But if we don't, for example, there is an element called premix. Okay. Premixes are not taxed because some of those, they are enzymes and amino acids. We don't have those minerals locally yet in Uganda. But again, it's a matter of time because we believe that we can bring capacity and produce these things locally here.
Dennis Igor for UBC Business. Kampala Capital City Authority has raised a concern on the competence of tens of thousands of border riders in the city. According to engineer David Luimbazi, the Deputy Executive Director, KCCA, 94% of the riders have no valid driving or riding permits, and that puts the passengers as well as the riders at risk.
Everyone who has nothing to do will join the border business.
Kampala Capital City Authority is planning to introduce a program geared at empowering border riders and improve safety on the city roads. The Deputy Executive Director, KCCA, Engineer David Luimbazi, says at least 50% of road accidents in Kampala City and its suburbs are caused by the motorcyclists.
We found out that 94% of them don't have driving permits. That means they've never gone through a driving school, they don't know the driving rules, which explains the high incidence of accidents in the city. 50% of the road deaths in the city are caused by borders. So that is why we have to intervene.
This was disclosed at a road safety awareness event organized by Uganda Breweries in Luzira and donated 100 helmets and 100 reflector jackets to boda riders.
We take 1 week to reflect and we reflect on safety. We look after our safety record and see how are we trending. Have we been able to get ourselves and our colleagues to work and they go back home safe every day? What can we do to improve our working environment, to continue to look after each other and ensure that our colleagues are going back to work safe?
We have to make sure we come up with a major training program that allows massive turnouts of boda riders. They go through the driving schools. They are trained by certified instructors. Then they go through also medical evaluation, check their do eye tests, do hearing tests, check for drugs, check for mental health before they are evaluated by the inspector of vehicles, who then give them a certificate, following which they can acquire a driving permit. Once all bodabodas have driving permits, we shall reduce the incidence of accidents in the city.
The event is one of the planned engagements by UBL to mark Safety Awareness Week and promote the culture of safety among employees when working on site, at home and on the road.
To the extreme north of Africa, leaders from Qatar and Egypt have used the gas forum in Cairo to review Qatar's current gas and oil exploration projects in Egypt. Let's have a look.
Members from the 1.5 dozen countries discussed how to deal with the growing demand for natural gas amidst a shortage in production and limited investments in infrastructure.
There was a beginning of a decline in investment, and in addition, there was this narrative, I would say a misguided narrative, that natural gas use is not compatible with combating climate change. And there was then pressures to stop investing in natural gas projects. We believe that this market tightness will continue to be with us until probably 2025, 2026.
Panelists at the forum analyzed ways to raise investments for infrastructure, production and exports, with focus on expanding growth in Africa.
The potential of natural gas in Africa is huge. Recently in February, we have an African country who has become member of this organization, and in the next few days, this country, Mozambique, will start exporting LNG. There are other countries which next year, at the end of next year, will also begin exporting LNG, Senegal, Mauritania, and we are liaising with them.
The Gas Exporting Countries Forum includes 11 founding member states and 8 observer nations. 7 are from Africa. They represent 72% of global natural gas reserves, 43% of production, and half of global LNG exports. The growth of this group has, however, raised concerns among some nations, who say it will operate like the OPEC Plus organization, which has been accused of controlling crude prices after it cut production in October. But officials from the Doha-based organization have calmed down those fears.
We confirm the aim of this forum is not to create a lobby to influence international prices, but on the contrary, we coordinate so we can supply natural gas globally in the right amount to the right markets at the right time and strike the right balance between production and consumption.
The group is also planning to coordinate with other organizations such as the East Mediterranean Gas Forum to harness energy. The Gas Exporting Countries Forum is expected to be the center of attention globally in the next period as natural gas becomes an important source of energy for the international economies. Yes, Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
And we believe that One East Africa means One East Africa, one tourist destination, and we want to make sure that we have got tourist packages that say East Africa. We believe that once these Kenyans come here and we go there and we sit together and make tourist packages for East Africa. People will stay longer, and the tourists will be happy with our countries. We have also moved, Honourable Minister, that we should have harmonized standards. We cannot do business if we don't know our standards, if we don't have harmonized standards. Tourism business is the business of the people. So if you have trained managers here, they should have the same standards that they can go and work in Kenya. They can work, the Kenyans can work in Uganda, can work in Tanzania, can work in all these partner states.
Ugandan coffee baristas have for the first time participated in the search for the world's best cup of AeroPress coffee. Now in its 14th season, the championship has grown to a cultural phenomenon with a cult-like following in all corners of the globe. Let's have a look.
The AeroPress Championship has always been taking place globally. It started in 2008, and so many countries all over the world are participating in this competition. And for Uganda, it is the very first time we're having it, and we are the ones hosting Chariots Coffees and Barista Academy. It is very important for us to participate in this competition globally because, number one, we are a coffee producing country, and this definitely will attract our market for our coffee globally. It is also going to empower our youth to always get opportunities because this is more like a networking area now. So the opportunities for our youth, those who are competing are going to get exposed locally, but most importantly, the winner of this competition is going to represent Uganda in the World AeroPress Championship in Vancouver, Canada.
I've taken my role and I'm the winner of my group. Yes, I won and I'm waiting for my next stage. Yes, I wish and I only wish that I be crowned the winner of this competition because, one, if I win here, it is giving me exposure to the world. And again, I'm selling the coffee background of my nation. You know, AeroPress championships have been happening all over the world except Uganda. Being a coffee farming country, we really needed this opportunity, okay? We needed this opportunity, one, to create a market for the coffee practitioners or coffee experts like me. Me as a barista, as a kappa, as a roaster, and knowing everything about coffee, I need to sell my knowledge globally.
This competition, this event is going to play a key role towards sensitizing our locals on the values of consuming coffee and hence promoting the rate of domestic coffee consumption in this country.
The ultimate coffee experience.
But I believe this is going to be the real kickstart of big things. Could it be a big start where we have big events like this, very entertaining, but also teaching our people about coffee? Isn't it? This is a big sensitization about coffee, about our farmers. Like I said, how do we solve that problem from $2 to at least $15 a kilo?
Being a coffee expert, you need to know what you're serving the clients, okay? You need to know how coffee tastes, because that gives you the capacity to determine which coffee is good and which coffee is bad. Failure to know that, you can't serve a good cup of coffee, all right? So this is an exposure even to other coffee experts that gives us the courage and the understanding of how coffee is supposed to taste, what you are supposed to do in order to serve a good coffee. This is one of a kind.
As we wrap up this week's edition of the Business Roundup, we leave you with some words of wisdom. Safety in education institutions begin with the institution administration. The staff and students need regular sensitization and emergency drills to hasten their reaction when dealing with a potential threat. Thank you for being a loyal audience. Let's catch up next week at the same time, same place. I've been your host, Dennis Igor.